Welcome, everybody, to Straight to the Point. I am your host, Jeff Foltz, and this is a little segment brought to you by Bourbon and Boxing, man. Uh, this segment, man, like we said, we're going to call it Straight to the Point. I don't know if it's something I'm going to do on a regular or something I just kind of need to get off my chest right now, so I feel like I need to get straight to the point about something, man. For a while now, the YouTube boxing scene has been there. Uh, so called casual fans buying into it, all this other stuff, kind of making a spectator, not a spectator, whatever, making a mockery of the sport of boxing, in my opinion. I've held my stance for a really long time about how I feel about it. You won't see me post any kind of YouTube fights on my group. You won't see me post any kind of YouTube boxing on my show here. Like, I don't talk about it. I didn't talk about the fights that happened over the weekend. Just absolute, just not into it, man. And I've expressed myself about why I'm not into it because it's no different than backyard fighting, boxing, and all that. I don't watch any of that. I just don't really get into it. I like boxing for a reason because it's a sanctioned sport with rules and kind of like the NFL and stuff like that. But basically, man, YouTube boxing, it came onto the scene. Uh, most when it first started, a lot of people had the same stance I did. It's an absolute disgrace to the sport of boxing. It's very disrespectful to actual boxers who have put in the time, the work, the 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 going up the ladder, building themselves through the ranks, whether it was through the juniors up into the Olympics and then into the amateurs and pros, or through the juniors and then through to the amateur level. These guys put in the work. They went and fought. They went to the gym every day. When they were broke, they were in there working their ass off to get to the point to where they could do something with their career. And then YouTube boxing, these guys, I mean, everybody's like, well, they're putting in the work. They're putting butts in seats. They're bringing attention to the sport of boxing. They're making money. And that's a big thing with everybody. They're making money, man. You're jealous. I don't give two shits about who makes money and how much money they make. I truly am somebody who doesn't care about money, man. It's not a big thing to me. I know you need it to fucking live, and it has become the main priority of the world for everybody out there, man. Everybody, their whole life is based off money. And I get it because without it, you can't fucking live. So it's just a basic common sense type of thing. You have to have money to survive. But it's not the end all tell all for me. Uh, but they talk about that, and to me, I look at it like this: yeah, they're putting in the time because they don't have a fucking job, so they have the time to put in. They're not like a boxer out there working a full time job and still going to the gym after he gets out of work, putting in the work, getting up the next morning, going back to his regular 9 to 5 job. These guys are YouTubers who are out trying to usually get views or whatever kind of stuff they might do. I don't know anything about the KSI guy. I know nothing about him, where he's from, how he got started, all that other crap. Uh, Jake Paul and Logan Paul, of course, they are in the States. So we know those guys uh, and where they came up, but I've never been a viewer of theirs, whatever. They do what they do and they make money. But when they start jumping into the boxing ring and then strutting around like they're real boxers, that's the problem that I really have. They're not fighting actual boxers. Not even Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury is mediocre in boxing, guys. Mediocre at best. Yeah, he can beat Jake Paul and KSI, of course, because these guys are not boxers, and that's what this Tommy Fury stuff should absolutely prove to everybody. These guys are not boxers. If Jake Paul at 175, guys, what do you think Demetrius Bivol would do to Jake Paul? He'd fucking destroy him, dude. He'd destroy him. Any top 10 175 guy would destroy Jake Paul at that weight. He hasn't fought anybody in his same weight. It's a mockery to boxing. Uh, and I I don't have an issue with it because, like I said, the point that I don't really acknowledge it. I just choose to ignore it most of the time. But this week, it was hard to ignore it when I saw these credible sites that I go to and I get my news from and I check on my daily stuff to see what's going on in the boxing world, or I tune into YouTube to check out my shows and my podcasts, that I watch to tune in and check out the latest boxing news, or maybe an interview with somebody, anything like that, man. I use these credible sites that I like, that I feel like they bring you the real stuff. They're real they're real passionate about the sport of boxing. And then the last 2 weeks, these sites, every one of them outside of Showtime. Showtime was the only one next to me, Bourbon and Boxing. Bourbon and Boxing and Showtime with, who is it? Brian Custer, if I'm correct, the host on there. Not one time did he acknowledge anything about YouTube boxing or the fights that were going on this week with the YouTube scene. Neither did I on my show Friday. Never even acknowledged it, spoke about it, didn't give two shits about it. It wasn't even on my list of scheduled fights because to me, it shouldn't be on the fight schedule. It shouldn't be on boxing scene fight schedule. Shouldn't be on those type of things. And then even my main guy, Teddy Atlas, my main guy, man, Teddy, took time to break down the Logan Paul fight. I don't know who he was fighting, but he decided he wanted to break down that fight. I didn't even bother watching that show, and I watch every show. I have it where it notifies me when his show pops up and he breaks something down because I love to listen to Teddy, man. He's a very reputable guy, credible on what he says. He knows what the fuck he's talking about. And I never thought, and now I think he did at one time mention in the past, he had mentioned Jake Paul's last fight with Nate Diaz, and I think he actually broke that one down too. But man, to see them doing that, it's like now you're giving attention to these guys that they don't deserve. All these credible sites, all these channels that I go to, man, and they all wanted to talk about those fights this weekend. And then Matchroom, the Zone, I dropped the subscription to that mainly because not only did they start trying to put every good fight on pay-per-view after you pay $25 a month for the subscription to the Zone, which is not fucking chump change, guys. I mean, maybe to millionaires, whatever. But to working people like myself, $25 a month is almost exceeds what I pay for all my subscriptions to other shit combined together almost. So I'm like, damn, $25 a month. I didn't have any problem paying that when I was getting all my fights. And then they decided, okay, well, we signed Canelo. Now we got to find a way to pay for Canelo. They gave him a ridiculous amount of money. So they started putting all the big fights, all the good fights on pay-per-view. I mean, they're even putting the Ryan Garcia fight on pay-per-view. Nobody's paying for that shit, man. But they started these guys were so desperate for viewers, the Zone is, and you can see the desperation in them. They're losing subscribers because the price is too high, and then you want to charge people for pay-per-view and then charge outrageous prices for the pay-per-view. On top of these guys paying $25 a month are ready for a subscription to your bullshit-ass fucking channel, man. And then now you give YouTube a fucking platform. You give these YouTube boxers a platform. And then to hear the advertisement that they put on this week for, the fights that went on over the weekend and claimed that this doubleheader, this YouTube boxing doubleheader, would be the biggest doubleheader in boxing history. Fucking word for word, man. The biggest boxing doubleheader in the history of the sport. All the fucking great fighters we got out there, all the great fights we've had, doubleheaders, how many, I don't know, but to claim that these fucking four clowns in the ring were going to be the best thing we've ever seen. Oh, man, it's going to be mind-blowing. I found that hilarious, but I don't bother watching it. I don't give two shits about it. I don't give it 2 seconds of my time. I almost don't even want to give the Fury versus Ngannou fight any of my time because it's a crossover fight, and I hate those fucking crossover fights, man. It's just an uneven field. If a boxer goes into the octagon, it's an uneven field for that boxer. If you say, "Hey, you got 3 months, 6 months to train and become an MMA fighter," you're gonna have you're gonna have a disadvantage on your part. Just like the MMA guys stepping into the boxing ring, that's not their forte, and they have a disadvantage. So I hate that crossover platform bullshit. But I hate the YouTube movement, boxing movement even more because it's just, and then like I said, I won't give it time on my stuff. I decided right now, get straight to the point, motherfucking call this bullshit out, call all these credible sites out. That Chris Mannix, I get Chris Mannix is with the Zone and Matchroom, so he's probably more forced than Teddy and Fight Scene and all these other a boxing scene and all these other companies who aren't forced. They're just doing it to get viewers and to get attention. Hopefully get their subscribers up if they talk about these YouTube fighters. Oh man, we'll draw that crowd. I don't want those viewers. I don't want that crowd because they're not true boxing fans. They're going to watch my shit and have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. And they're going to be like, this guy's boring. I don't know. Because they're not into fucking boxing. So I don't want to draw that type of attention to my show, right? As are not the people I want watching my shit that don't understand boxing. I want the purists to be watching my show to understand what I'm talking about. To maybe call me out on fucking something I'm wrong about, to correct me on something, to acknowledge something that I might say, or be able to have a decent conversation with me about boxing. So that's who I want on watching and viewing my show, Bourbon and Boxing. That's who I want to draw, the true fans, because I'm a true fucking fan of boxing. I may not have been a trainer or a fucking fighter, but I live for the sport of boxing. I love it, man. I watch it avidly. This week to even acknowledge the YouTube fighters when we had two big main card events this weekend with Tim Tszyu and Mendoza and Janabek and Gutierrez, that guy. Two big main events, and then on the undercard for the Tszyu, or not Tszyu, but the Janabek fight was, both Davis brothers were on there. You had Duke Reagan making his comeback to the ring after injury and surgery and all that kind of stuff. You had Richard Torres, a good young up-and-coming heavyweight fighter on that card, just an amazing undercard. And then over on Showtime, on the Tszyu undercard, the co-main event was Sam Goodman. I mean, just incredible fighters that should have gotten the attention and respect, and these channels that should have been taking the time to break down, the Keyshawn Davis fight, to break down the Sam Goodman fight, to say, hey, check these young guys out. They're young, they're tough, they're hungry. Watch them. Instead, you wanted to break down the Logan Paul fight. You wanted to give KSI and all these guys all this fucking attention, man. Just so that, in hopes that you would get their viewers, get some more views from it, draw that crowd to you. Man, it's like I said, dude, when you come to Bourbon and Boxing, I can promise you, you're only going to get real boxing talk, real boxing fight schedules, real boxing results, and real boxing news. That's all I'm going to do here, man. I'm not ever going to give that YouTube platform any of my time as far as talking about their fights, because I just think it's all like, look, if Jake Paul decides he really wants to get into boxing, or KSI decides, or Logan fucking Paul, these guys decide, okay, I want to really, really get into boxing and start fighting real boxers and work my way up the fucking ranks and all that other bullshit. Sign with fucking Matchroom or sign with Top Rank. If some, and that's the thing. If these guys, even though, and here's the thing, you don't see a Top Rank, Matchroom. Well, I guess Matchroom did sign KSI and them because that's who they fight with, the Zone. So I wouldn't be surprised. But you don't see like the Top Rank and PBC trying to reach out and sign these guys. But like I said, if Jake Paul is 175 and he comes in at 175 and he wants to fight in that division and prove himself starting from the bottom up, then you can respect that. I can respect that he wants to do that, even though he's going to have, the proper trainer and the money to start out a little bit different than everybody else, but he still wants to put the time into the sport properly and do it the right way. Any of these guys, and that's all right. Give it a shot. I can guarantee you're not going to be successful in it. I have already seen Jake Paul, and I can tell you there's nothing that I've seen of him as far as watching a clip of him that says that he's got a goofy footed wide stance and he fucking telegraphs every punch he throws. He would never make it in boxing. He'd get destroyed. And the KSI guy, I haven't seen anything about him, but I can tell you now that none of these guys would be successful in boxing. That's why they won't fight actual boxers. Tommy Fury. What's messed up? Go look at Tommy Fury's record, guys. Yes, he is a boxer. He came up in some amateur ranks. He put in the work, as I'm talking about. He is considered an actual boxer. So, yes, he is considered an actual boxer, but he's as novice as they fucking get. All right? And he's beating you guys. He's the lowest tier level of boxing, and he's beating you guys. If you fought even one more tier up from him, you'd get fucking embarrassed and destroyed. Excuse my language. I don't mean to cuss so much, but I get a little bit of, passionate about this, this topic here. I wanted to get straight to the point. Pop, pop, pop. Just punch it in there. I'm going to find myself rambling on about it, man. I do have some bourbon with me. Had a few, maybe 2 shots already today. Not bad. Bought some stuff called the Big House, but we're not going to get much into that, man. I will take a shot with you guys for sure. And like I said, man, I just really wanted to get on here, and I wanted to get straight to the point about how I feel about these so-called credible shows, so-called credible sites that I use for my boxing information, that I had to see them giving these YouTubers their time and giving them another platform. I know I cannot be the only person out here aggravated about this who wants to see it go away. And like I said, for many reasons, man, especially when these guys are strutting around calling themselves boxers and really thinking that they're that fucking tough. Like, oh man, I'm bad. They're like my 2-year-old upstairs. I swear to fucking God, now that I think about it, dude. Excuse my language once again. They are like my 2-year-old. He walks around and he goes, I'm bad. I'm mean. I'm mean. That's what they remind me of, is him. You know what I mean? It's hilarious now that I think about it in that way. When I said that, I automatically thought about my 2-year-old. Like, that's what these guys remind me of. My 2-year-old, I'm bad, I'm mean, I'm tough. I'm going to get you. But, like I said, trying to figure out, man, like Teddy Atlas, and it's not like I won't watch these, go to boxing scene and still get all my news. I just wanted to kind of call some of these guys out. Teddy Atlas and Chris Mannix. He's been one of the biggest cheerleaders since it started, even before DAZN brought on these YouTube guys. He was one of the biggest cheerleaders for it out there. He has a wingman, Sergio Mora, he's like me. He absolutely can't stand it. And I'm sure he's been forced by DAZN to actually have to acknowledge it, because he works for DAZN and he does commentary for him and shit like that. So I've heard him actually acknowledge it now, but you can hear it in his voice. He said it from the beginning, the same thing I said. This is a disgrace to the fucking sport. These guys are not boxers, man. They're not boxers. They shouldn't be out here imitating something that they're not, just to make a buck off of it. And that's what I think makes me madder than anything. I feel like They're using the sport to make money. They have no interest in advocating for the sport. Maybe Jake Paul signing a few people. I think Jake Paul would be the one out of all of these YouTuber guys. Jake Paul would probably be the one who I think could be an overall good promoter. I think he could bring the attention to boxers that they want. I think he could start a promotional company and sign some good young guys, fighters like he did with Amanda Serrano, and the attention that he's gotten her. He's done great for Amanda Serrano's career. I think he'd be a great promoter. That doesn't mean he's going to be a great boxer or that he should be in the ring boxing, but promoting the sport, hell, if you love the sport like that and you want to get into promoting it, there's a lot of money into that. And I think he could make a lot of money doing that. And I think he could bring a lot of money to boxers because he's a little bit on the outside with what he's doing with Amanda Serrano. He's not being stingy with the money. He's paying this girl, this lady, this woman, not girl. She's a woman, probably kick my ass. But paying her, getting her some money, getting her attention that, she deserves and getting her name out there, which is awesome. I love seeing that part. He's probably advocated the sport more than any of the rest of these guys. That doesn't mean he's not in it for the money because that's what they do. They make money. And like I said, I don't discredit anybody out there trying to make a dollar because that's what life is all about to 99.9% of the world. It's all about that almighty dollar. And if I ain't got a dollar, then fuck you, don't holler. But anyways, it's just my stance on it, man. And I just wanted to put it out there that I'm proud of myself and I'm proud of my show, Bourbon and Boxing, for not giving these guys the time on my show, not acknowledging those fights, sticking to my guns and saying that it's a disgrace to boxing. And I refuse to talk about it on my show. What these other ones do, I don't care. But just know that your credibility with me slipped a little bit. Not that I'm not going to listen to Teddy, because Teddy still has forgotten more about boxing than I'll ever know about boxing. Trust me on that. He's forgotten more than I'll ever know. So I'll still watch Teddy. I'll still go to boxing scene. I'll still do this, but just know that I saw you guys, man. And I don't know who put Teddy up to it, who told Teddy it'd be great to break that fight down. I don't feel like he would have agreed to doing that, or he wanted to give these guys any of his time. And I hope truly deep down inside he didn't want to give him his time, because I got a lot of respect for Teddy Atlas. And not like I lose any respect for him. Not at all. I mean, the man's a fucking great. He's a legend in the sport. But like I said, man, this is straight to the point. A little segment brought to you by Bourbon and Boxing. I'm your host, Jeff, man. Just wanted to get this shit off my chest. It's really just building, man. I made a little post about it, and I thought, man, I really need to get in front of the camera and express how I feel about this, really get it out there. This is the only time I'll ever give any of these guys any of my time. After this, I just have no more to say about it, and you won't ever see it on my show. I promise on my show, you get real talk, real boxing, real boxing results, real boxing schedules. None of that bullshit, that, YouTube shit. You won't ever see it on my show, man. I promise you guys that. And I stick to my guns and I'll stand clear to it. And I give Showtime, Brian Custer, credit. He's never went over to that side, and I'm pretty sure he gets, plenty of attention from Showtime Boxing anyways. But yeah, he stuck to his, they stuck to their guns too. Don't bring that into the sport of boxing. They only want real boxing with real boxers. And that's all I want to do is talk about real boxing, about real boxers, and hopefully start to get some interviews with real boxers, man. That's my next venture, hopefully, is to start venturing out and start doing some interviews, man. If you're a boxer and you're up and coming and you want to be interviewed by me, hit me up. My email is on there. Chef Jeff 276 at gmail.com, guys. I'll put that at the end of the show for you guys to check out. Anybody who wants to do interviews or anything like that, talk boxing with me, hit me up, man. But anyways, guys, thanks for joining me on this little segment of Bourbon and Boxing called Straight to the Point, baby. Straight to the point. We're going to let it go there. And here's a little shot of bourbon, guys. Thanks for joining me.